Today, we're going to talk about something really interesting. A paradox you might have even seen in your own life.
I mean, think about it. While some people can pick a restaurant or a movie in a snap, others, often the most brilliant thinkers we know, get completely stuck in this endless loop of what-ifs and overanalysis. So, let's dive into why that actually happens.
If you're listening and thinking, hey, that sounds like me, the first thing you need to know is that this is not a weakness or some kind of flaw. Psychology actually shows us that this struggle is often a direct result of some seriously high-level mental habits.
So here's the real kick. Your indecisiveness isn't a sign that you're failing. It's more like your brain is running some really advanced protective software. It's trying to navigate a world of infinite possibilities just to find the very best path forward for you.
This phenomenon is so common, we can give it a name: the genius decision trap. And now, we're going to break down the 5 key psychological reasons behind it.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to explore metacognition, probabilistic thinking, cognitive flexibility, hyper-awareness, and something called an internal locus of control. And trust me, these aren't just fancy buzzwords. They are the core mechanics of a complex mind doing its thing.
Let's start with the first two, which are all about what's happening inside your head, long before a decision ever gets made.
First up is metacognition. Put simply, it's the act of thinking about your own thinking. The definition is simple, but in practice, it's an incredibly powerful and complex process. So instead of just having a thought and going with it, someone who's strong in metacognition will immediately question it. They're basically running a constant quality control check on their own reasoning, asking stuff just like this.
And here's the trade-off, right? This internal audit makes your final judgments much more accurate, for sure, but it also turns a simple decision into this intense mental workout, and that creates a ton of mental noise and self-doubt.
Now, let's move to our second reason, and you'll see how these things build on each other. A lot of people operate on the left side here, absolute thinking. But smart thinkers, they live on the right, in a world of probabilities. They don't see black and white answers. They see a whole spectrum of possibilities.
And this is the key question that kind of haunts the probabilistic thinker. When you understand that no outcome is ever 100% certain, it becomes incredibly difficult to just commit to one. Every option has different odds of success, which makes finding a perfect choice feel totally out of reach.
This leads us right into our next set of reasons, which all revolve around that endless hunt for more data, more meaning, more, well, perfect information.
The third trait we're talking about is cognitive flexibility. On the surface, this sounds like an amazing strength. It means you're not stubborn and you can adapt what you believe when you get new facts. But here's the catch. Because you're always willing to be proven wrong, you may never feel truly ready to make that final call. You're always waiting, thinking that maybe one more article, one more opinion, might be that single piece of evidence that changes everything.
Fourth, we have hyper-awareness. You can think of this as your brain's zoom lens, and it's often developed as a survival skill. You're not just looking at the decision itself, you're scanning for every subtle cue, every hidden meaning, and every possible long-term effect.
This constant calculation mode is powerful, but it is also exhausting. It can take a small question, like what to wear to an interview, and magnify it into this massive strategic decision with dozens of variables. Suddenly, the stakes feel absolutely monumental.
This brings us to our final, and maybe our most important reason. It's the one that ties all of this together and really reframes the whole struggle in a very powerful way.
Our fifth and final point is having a strong internal locus of control. Basically, this just means your self-worth isn't tied to what other people think. It's all about your own judgment and your own standards. So because you're your own toughest critic, the pressure you put on yourself is just immense. You don't just want to make a good choice. You feel this deep personal responsibility to make the right choice, because you're the only judge that really matters. And this immense pressure very often leads to rumination. That's when, even after a decision has been made, your mind keeps replaying it, analyzing it, questioning it. You're constantly trying to learn from it to perfect the process for next time. So, let's bring all this home. If you've recognized yourself in any of these patterns, the crucial point is this. Your struggle is not a sign of weakness. It's evidence of a mature, thoughtful, and truly resilient mind. What feels like a frustrating bug, that indecision, is actually a core feature of your mental operating system. It's the natural byproduct of a brain that is analytical, flexible, and deeply, deeply responsible. So the next time you find yourself paralyzed by a choice, maybe don't be so hard on yourself. Instead, just ask this question. because recognizing these patterns for what they are, well, that's the first step to seeing your own mind in a completely new and much more accurate way.